Again, I'm Chip Johnson. I'm originally from Brighton Plantation, just down the road from the wonderful place of Creek City, and where I met a lot of these people. And I've been growing marijuana for at least 25 years, probably longer than that. I can still remember, and I still get tremors when I hear a helicopter come over my yard, and I'm sure there's a few of you here who get that little pitter-patter, you know, when you hear the pitter-patter. So, I'm just here to, share a little bit of what I know and answer any questions. So. All right.
Thank you for having us tonight. We'll come up together because we're just partners in this whole venture. So right now in Mercer, we operate a state-of-the-art facility for extracting and processing cannabis and also CBD, and produce the products from those. There's a lot involved with what we do to make sure that's safe for the consumer in the end, and so it's one of our main focuses is making sure that things are processed safely and good for consumers, and that's a lot of what we focus on is product safety and quality. And Chad's been a grower for many years, and Jay, and a caregiver, and he knows a lot more about the benefits of these products with patients that he's dealt with over the years. And I'll kind of fill in a little bit on the caregiver side.
So I'm Chad Crandall, originally from Farmington, Maine. Been caregiving under the old laws since 2003 and under the new laws since 2009. And it's been a long, interesting ride. I got involved growing marijuana when I was fairly young, and I just always had a passion for the plant, watching it grow. The first thing, I was like 13 or 14, I learned how to clone a plant, and I just thought it was so amazing that more roots would come out, just from cutting a branch off and keeping it, warm and moist. And so it kind of, from there to the smells that it produces, to the crystal and just watching the plants grow, kind of, it builds a passion around the plant. And then beyond that, in like 2000, I started working with adults with disabilities. So I was coming in contact with all different types of disabilities, from head injuries through, natural disabilities that people were born with. And, I always thought that marijuana would help a lot of these people. And of course, I wasn't able to administer or do any testing, but I worked in group homes, and everyone in the whole group home would have seizure disorder, one sort or another. And one guy told me, he said, if I have marijuana, I never have seizures. And I guess this is actually 97, and I thought it sounded cool. I was like, I'm not going to argue with you. I love marijuana. Sounds great. I'm glad it works for you. But after working with that guy for a couple more years, I realized he truly did not have seizures if he had his marijuana. And after about 4 days, we would lead into multiple seizure episodes per day, both petite and grand mal. So talking like major potential for brain damage every time, and other bodily injury. But so that kind of renewed my love of the plant a little bit when I was at a crossroads, trying to determine whether what I was doing was respectful. I knew my parents, they were never involved with marijuana or even alcohol. They just kind of always was he'll grow out of it. And it's kind of growing into it more than anything. And so I took my first 6 clones, and I turned those into 20 clones, and then by the time I had 20 clones, I took 2, body-sized mirrors and stuck them on both sides of the closet. And I guess every time I looked in that closet, I was kind of looking into my future. But so it's been neat to watch the industry grow. It's been neat to have a hand in really changing some people's perspective on pot and marijuana, and getting it towards cannabis and medicine. And it's always going to be pot and marijuana to me, but it's good to see that you know, 90 years of prohibition is a hard thing to turn back around from. It's hard to change people's mind. Of course, we have all heard of the reefer madness and stuff, but we're at a time where people are making more conscientious decisions. The opioid epidemic came out, and then I think everyone just realized it can't get worse than that. And one of the things I did as a caregiver when the state enacted the morphine equivalency program, as the doctors were all kind of getting in trouble and the companies were getting in trouble for overprescribing and overselling and marketing. You know, one of the things that happened during that period of time is the doctors, without really interacting with their patients, they were taking away the amounts of opiates they were giving them and not really explaining what was going on. So everyone thought they had done something wrong. You know, they've like, I've never lost a bottle of pills or, you know, had an issue. So people were wondering what's going on, but what they were doing was causing a lot of people serious withdrawal. And it was nice to be able to take part with cannabis and treat some of those more serious symptoms with typically like an RSO form medicine. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but it's Rick Simpson. So we're talking a full spectrum alcohol, cold wash, and then you're going to essentially evaporate all the ethanol or alcohol that you're using out of it, and you're left with the pure plant compounds. And that's you know, it definitely helps people, you know, with coming down from opiate withdrawal, and helps people with symptoms, you know, when dealing with negative cells in their body. And you know, and that's just one of the medicines, but it's a concentrated form, and you know, it's the same type of medicine you'll hear people say kills cancer, and I believe it does, but that's not what I talk about with my patients. From my angle, I just treat symptoms. I don't, you know, the medicine's amazing, so to talk it up and make it, you know, you don't have to talk it up more than it already proves itself. So symptoms you're always going to be able to treat. You know, you're not always going to be able to cure a disease, but you know, sometimes mentality is half the problem, and I think that marijuana both helps with there and with the other cannabinoid systems in the body to help the inflammation and all the other various stuff that you hear. There's a lot of, sorry to ramble on, but there's a lot of in the market that's undesirable. You know, even from a long time marijuana advocate. I'm coming out of the caregiving aspect, and I am moving towards recreational as my own personal plan, because I spent a lot of time doing it, and it's a really hard way to live life, dealing with lots of people's sickness, and you know, you're kind of like a counselor and a friend, and there's not a lot of receipts at the end of those type of relationships. So you know, it's really hard to charge people who are going through that stuff. So when you're truly caregiving, you know, you're not seeing, you know, you're not seeing the backyard beauty warehouses going up from people who are truly giving a care. So, but what I've managed to do, because of my relationship with Jake, in 2009, I realized like everybody's doing what I do all of a sudden. Everyone grows marijuana now. So I went back to my 5th grade education, and I was like, well, Eli Whitney, the cotton gin, you know, I'm gonna lean towards processing, you know, and I'm gonna keep caregiving, but as everyone starts growing, more people are gonna need processing, because the end result is the purer the compounds, or the stronger the medicine, the more, you know, we purify the medicine to its most potent forms, and then we can make the most effective bottles of tincture, the most, you know, concentrated medicines. So that's kind of the end result of what we do. But so currently we're operating medically, and we work with, you know, 50 caregivers and stores and dispensaries across the state. Pardon me. But and so we're dealing with a lot of growing pains. We're two farmers that kind of keep going all in and pushing the limit. Usually when you see people doing what we're doing, they're from out of state, they're already established, and they're here essentially taking our market from us, which, once you hit a certain level, the business plan, you can't worry about what other people are doing. If you're caregiving, you just need to keep caring. If you're trying to further your business, you just got to worry about what you're doing to further your own business. It's, getting tied up and having hard feelings about the way other people are operating and stuff. It shouldn't reflect on your own personal business plan. So that's kind of where I come from, and that's how we move forward. I was always making ice water extracts through micron filtration, and then we came to closed loops and hydrocarbons and like next level extraction. And I was like, okay, well, I graduated high school, but I'm gonna, reach out to my friend with a college education here, and we started a relationship early on, about 8 years ago, with extractions, and we've had 3 upgrades of our laboratory. Now we're operating, I think we were the first C1D1 laboratory in Maine to be certified for cannabis, and that means we have, gone through, we've been engineered, we've been under peer review, state fire marshal, state engineers, and we'll always be, our doors open to any inspector, whether it be, alcohol or state, or we're pretty much get the highest compliancy, point in the business right now, and it's the whole business is a compliance business, and unfortunately for a lot of people that have been operating for the past 10 years, where it's been more of an abstract, like, what can I do to help people and stay relevant, is, now it's kind of turning over to, like, you have to start treating it like a business. And, for some people, those plans never cross, because really what they're trying to do is just help people. And, they didn't want to keep investing money. It's not an easy job. You see some people, and the people that are doing it right, and even some of the people that look like they're doing it wrong. It's hard. It's hard start to finish.
When you say people are doing it, what are you talking about?
Like growing marijuana, being part of the industry.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I know there's a specific thing.
No, just being part of it, being part of the industry, whether you're a simple caregiver or dispensary owner, it's hard work. We don't get vacations, you less now, but prior you lived in a lot of paranoia.
How do you make CBD oil?
So CBD starts in the field. It's been specially bred to, withhold the THC compound in it. And then from there on, the typical extraction method for CBD would be ethanol. And first of all, you have to dry the product and bucket. So you got to get the stalks off, and you got to get it down to the raw material for that type of wash. The next level is like a biomass, and they just take everything. So.
Does the biomass go to, say, Madison paper mill?
Biomass goes to like a special it's different. It's a biomass extraction versus biomass for energy, but they do cross over.
The refuse from the biomass extraction can be used, for concrete, for plastics, for all kinds of things. I'll use the actual hemp fiber.
Yeah, there's really there's a lot of different levels of extracting CBD. We primarily take crude or slightly refined, and we separate the compounds even further to make them more marketable, so they can go across state lines. We can strip the THC, purify.
That's all done through molecular distillation, just simple distillation, evaporation, condensation, condensation.
So you rinse the plants and CBD oil comes out?
It's soaked in a solvent, and the solvent's recovered, and then from there it's further refined. Okay.
Do you receive the raw product?
Yep.
So the growers strip the canes, they'll send you the leaves and the
Yeah,
rest
whether
of
it's
it?
cannabis or hemp, there's a little bit of play as far as whether it's delivered to us fresh frozen for cannabis, because we can do a live resin extraction where you actually capture that essence of the plant as it's growing, that smell that's on your fingers that you smell when you touch a bud. That's what we try to retain for an end product.
Yeah.
Versus hemp, it's going to be usually dry typically, and we're finding like 2 to 3% yields with the extraction we do on hemp CBD, which is really low,
Yeah.
which kind of leads us towards processing crude for the people that use biomass extractors and big ethanol systems to make a product that needs further refinement.
It's a rapidly expanding market. The equipment that they're using and stuff, it's all in its first generations.
Everything's really shifting to a more professional and business atmosphere of the cannabis industry.
So everything that you guys are making, that's all heading to dispensaries?
Yeah.
You guys aren't doing any point of sale yourself?
No,
It's all...
we're there to help the farmer move their product,
Yeah.
develop their
I
brand.
still have
Yeah.
like a small
Now,
caregiver.
the farmer, you say,
Yep.
is that any farmer who's growing, or does it have to be a licensed caregiver?
Currently licensed caregiver.
Okay, so these people are giving you their product, their extra product that would normally be going to their patient?
Yep, I think it's a 70, they're allowed to move 70% for
Yeah,
extraction.
Their excess,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, so essentially, and then when they bring their excess product to us, we turn it into a wider range of products for them, so that they're not just treating their patients with a smokable plant matter. They also have matter that can be vaporized, decarboxylated, and put into tinctures. But, you know, we create the full spectrum, so we can aid in people's success. You know, stores that in today's market, it's really fast moving and stuff. And if you don't have the products on your shelf that your neighbor has on his shelf, people, even though they're loyal customers, are still going to go check out the other shelf and spend. You know, you're trying to retain your customers in your local market by providing all the products needed.
You
Yeah, what's the the difference between, because like when I first started hearing about extracts, people are always warning about like BHO, because it's like the solvent that's being used is...
A lot of the stuff that the bad rap about BHO is head shops were selling glass tubes that you literally push a can of butane through, blast that out. It's so dangerous to do it like that.
Yeah.
So people were blowing up houses. Obviously, you're letting cans of butane into the atmosphere in a closed area. So it's a little spark to set that off.
It's hard to explain, like, you know, but there's a lot of different extraction methods, and it really depends with the end result where you're going to start and what extraction method you're going to use. If you're going for a pure flavor profile, you're going to use hydrocarbon, butane potentially, and
or
or
blend.
or blended and propane, and it sounds pretty yucky and dangerous, but if you look across toothpaste, mayonnaise, everything, like all these products.
Decaffeinated coffee is made with hydrocarbon extracted all the time.
Yeah,
So there's a ton of products in the market right now. All these lotions and sprays that come out under pressure, if you look in there, it's propane or butane that is, you're putting it on your hair product.
That's a stupid question. And when I drive by Bloom's farm, I see like fields of what appears to be marijuana. It's a tent. So what's that being grown for? Is that something totally different? Or?
It's just for the CBD.
Yeah, and so
It's not going to be made in broke out of it or something.
There is that option too. So it's more likely going to be extracted. A lot of the crops that's right now is either people growing seed crops, hemp crops for extraction, or hemp crops for biomass. But right now, I think everybody's going to extract it first and then try to use what's left after the biomass extraction for other hemp products.
yeah. My belief is hemp's going to follow the typical USDA. You know, you start, you make money, you got to get bigger, you got to get bigger, you got to get bigger. Oh, you're out of business. Sorry. You know, so CBD is a real thing. CBD is medicine, can be obtained out of hemp plant, but the hemp plant's also bred to limit different compounds. We're extractors, so we don't want compounds limited. You know, limiting compounds, like breeding to have less THC, doesn't make it better medicine. It just makes it legal. You see, so yeah.
Oh, when you were talking about the many uses, I don't know the right words.
Yeah,
But
sometimes I
have a
don't.
granddaughter who's an amputee, 2 years, and she's had circulation problems since she was a child. And she's been able to go to dispensaries in her wheelchair. And there's one young man, this was up in Oakland, California, who got to kind of know her. Gave a very specific type of smoke with her continual pain that she, and even the ghost, the ghost thing of the leg. With so much respect, and they go and they look at each one and he explains. And her regular doctors, the straight doctors, no objection to it.
Yeah.
Because they've been giving her heavier painkillers, and they're trying to kind of like that, getting that down.
Yeah.
But it's everything that she can think, and she goes to college and nobody bothers her. And
Yeah.
It's been a great help for her.
It's, and the caregiver relationship, I know a lot of people like don't totally believe in it. They don't believe that the people care, but there's a lot of people, and I can tell just, I don't know Chip well, but I can just tell from his presence, like he's a caregiver. You know what I mean? There's money makers and there's caregivers, and it takes a special relationship to get people the relief they need. You can't just be like, this does this and there go, you're fixed. It's a matter of, you can tell people what to expect all day, but you're going to get way better services if you're giving people samples and they're telling you what they're feeling from those samples. And some of the most serious pain is being treated by pain rubs. The people come and they're looking for the most serious medicine you can get, the strongest stuff. And, what's finally hitting their pain is the pain rubs, because, a huge portion of your nerve cells that are related to pain are just under the surface of your skin. So when you're dealing with neuropathy, ghost pains from amputation, we're talking about a 10 or 20% relief of pain. But for people that are on the edge, that's the difference between enjoying a TV show or just sitting there and being miserable. So, yeah.
So how much hemp does one need to make, let's say, a vial of a CBD?
Sure. At 2%, just give a...
Yeah, if you had a pound of hemp CBD, off that pound you'd get about 10 grams, roughly. So it's very low yielding, versus up to 25%. We've even hit 30% yields in the past off of cannabis strains, depending on what strain it is.
So a pound of flower yields 10 grams of...
For hemp, yeah. It's not worth processing hemp small scale.
variable.
And, yeah, but
Did I hear you say that it's a co-product of additional growing practices? In other words, you can get more than one product of CBD plus.
there's cannabis, like higher THC strains that are very high in CBD also,
Yeah.
that will yield a lot more CBD.
But
And
are there other items or products that come out of the?
Okay, so like what I was saying when I provide, so people have a more wide spectrum of products, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you can take the oil that we make and you can turn it into like a clean vapor cart. You can turn it into tinctures, edibles, and we return test results with all our stuff so people can calculate and formulate accurate dosage. Instead of just soaking it in the butter, which is also a great way to medicate, but it's just like we're heading towards everything has to have numbers tied to it. Everything has to be tested or labeled potentially harmful.
And what size growing scale are we talking about? Like 10 acres or?
For the average caregiver, the respectful, size would be no bigger than this room, and
not for hemp though. Are you specifically asking about hemp?
I'm sorry?
Are you specifically asking about hemp? Or
Just generally, actually.
it's different. You're limited on square footage by the new law with cannabis to the maximum of 20,000 square feet. Hemp, I believe it's acres, and I'm not sure what the cap is. I don't know.
It's, yeah,
It's really
I'm sure.
yeah.
These guys are,
Yeah.
it's huge.
So,
Yeah, so, that hemp market's gonna come and go, and some people have made some money. Some of the people that are gonna be making money the next few years are gonna be the people breeding the seed that keep feeding the pigeons that are chasing the
How do you think because when marijuana became recreationally legalized in Maine, and like with all the regulation of like canopy cap and stuff like that, what do you guys see? Do you think that there's going to be a few number of people who are going to be making all the money, or do you think it's going to be?
I think there's
enough room for a lot of the people that have been in it for a while and doing it right to be successful in this. And even people that want to start right now and have the motivation and the know-how to succeed can actually get ahead right now in this game.
What do you guys think about every store around here has something CBD in it now? Every little, I mean.
I've dug into that a little bit. A lot of the CBD products that are in those stores, if they're CBD products from like China or whatever, are
Okay.
testing super high in like heavy metals and things that you don't want to
Well, it
consume.
just seems like every little thing is throwing their hat in the ring.
They're using CBD as like the first foot in the door. I mean, just like the government is with the farm bill and all that. They
CBD as a compound is a great compound, but there's a lot of cannabinoids that make up the full spectrum of medicine. If you look at a wheel, it's going to say CBD treats the seizures, CBD does this, CBD is the only thing for younger people or older people. It's like the truth is that the cannabinoids, we're just getting started in learning how they all react.
you're trying to figure out a plant that can grow every flavor, like literally every smell that from lemon to strawberry to pine. It's really amazing what the plant can provide. So there's a lot of studying and trials that still need to be done as this progresses.
And to go back just briefly on a question you were asking about, like the markets, like Maine's a cottage state, and we're a lot different than a lot of states that have already been rolled over. We have some of the last mom and pop convenience stores. They're disappearing one at a time, but we have a low population. So when the monopoly market comes and looks at us, we're not as viable. They loop back, they go towards Massachusetts, and they'll come back and finish us when they are established in the states that matter. So in Maine, we are relevant because you go to California, you go into a shop, they have everything in the shop has their own label on it. You come into Maine, you go into a successful shop, and they're supporting everybody. All the people are doing good things. Maine's different than a lot of places.
So what if you want to do a small scale? Because you guys seem to be more large scale products.
Mm-hmm.
I grow my own potatoes, I grow my own tomatoes, carrots, everything. If I want to grow my own pot, where do I go from that? And stuff like that.
Right now, legal, recreationally, you can have 3 plants as an adult. I think it's 21 years old. And
What about the actual growing? Because the laws are a little bit easier to navigate. Where would someone start if they knew really nothing, but they wanted to try their hand at growing it?
outdoors.
Or,
Outdoors.
maybe even small scale processing and stuff like that.
Yep.
I personally don't really want to use butane.
No,
It's
totally.
loud
Yeah.
and kind of clumsy.
No, totally. That's why I called Jake because we do all types of extraction.
But to do it yourself.
But to do it yourself, you're talking about either soaking in coconut oils or even some alcohol, stuff like that. But definitely people do all their own process, and people are very self-sufficient in Maine.
This is a process of tumbling, dry sift tumbling,
Dry
heat
sift,
press to make rosins. That's not as refined as what you guys are talking. I mean,
It can be
but
pretty.
for somebody on their own,
technical.
they can do that themselves.
And
If they want to use a vape pen, if they want to do something like that.
And that's not a super expensive thing or anything like that, kidding?
No, you can make a
do
concentrated
it
product
easy.
fairly cheap.
Yeah.
It just comes down to how refined it is.
Yeah.
So,
I actually have a question. You guys are talking about, okay, use the hemp, which you get in your CBD and low THC out of it. But you're also talking about using, regular cannabis. Is there a process to separate the THC out after?
there is, it's through the distillation.
Yeah.
It requires a lot more time, and there is also other post-processing that requires
Yeah.
a lot more money, and the throughput is
Yeah.
really
So
slow.
it just doesn't make a viable.
It doesn't make viable, yeah.
That's what I was wondering. Because you said you could get so much more CBD out of the regular
Yeah,
cannabis. Now,
and
if
our
it's
focus
big-
is cannabis strains that are high in CBD. There's a lot more, CBD is just one tick on the thing. You got CBC, CBG,
Yeah.
just keep on going on other.
And every
things.
month there's gonna be a new one that's the big thing. So this month's it's THCA, which is the THC when it still has the acid molecule connected to it, which makes it not fit into the cannabinoid receptor as well. Once you decarboxylate it or heat it, that knocks off the acid molecule and then it fits in the cannabinoid receptors, and that makes it active. I don't know.
Every time I get confused about my plants, I don't know whether it's just water them or take.
Don't cut 'em yet.
This and that. People always say, come on, it's a weed.
Yes.
It's a weed. And then I was thinking to myself, when I think about all the kind of things that everybody does to take care and clip it and chop it, and like that, what if it was like a pasture somewhere where they would just be going wild? What would happen to them? And would they fall over?
It would be,
Cultivated or even picked up.
if it was just left alone in the wild, they would just reseed each other every year and just stay a field of temp.
But would there still be buds and?
Yeah, but it'd be full seeds, but yeah.
Yeah, it would get more and more contaminated
Yeah.
with seed as the years.
So people could just be taking a walk, they think it's a flower and then.
As far as it naturally taking off in the wild, I don't think that's gonna be possible.
Well, there's
honestly.
ruderalis. That is like
There's a
the
few
wild-
strains that
the wild
potentially could.
pitch weed.
That actually, you said, that leads to a question I was gonna ask about it's like certain strains you just can't grow in the state because the time period is too long. What would you recommend as and I always thought it was just indica and sativa, but there's also a wide
These two guys will give you
Yeah.
all kinds of information.
more
on that.
range of,
There is,
When you're
yeah.
picking plants, you want to start looking at your budding time, because that's what's going to stick us, a lineup. Because that's really what we need to think about. If you're looking at a 9-week bud time, you're talking about a plant that, most usually isn't going to be done till the end of October. And we start getting iffy then. Everybody knows, all of us that garden, squash, corn, whatever. We start getting to that time of the year we're keeping our fingers crossed for stuff. So, that's what you want to know. If you want to look, you want to go shorter times.
Yeah, look at your flowering time.
Yeah.
The best way to
Yeah.
but is there any that you'd recommend that you've had success with?
Well, I've had success right now. The 3 that I'm dealing with is a BLX, which is a borderliner extreme. Uh-huh.
There's so
And-
many names. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm dealing with Blue Dream Extreme and a Girl Scout Cookie Extreme. And all of them are going to come in well under the wire of me chewing on my fingernails. So,
The seasons have shifted a little bit for most. Good
Yeah.
2-3 week shift. And for years, I still do operate a CSA farm, Northland Farm in Farmington with my wife, just doing produce and stuff. And this is the first time I pretty much went all in this venture was back in December. Prior to that, I worked for the Greater Augusta Utility District and 19 years of contracting, industrial automation, that type of stuff. So processing and automation is my background. So that's where I'm trying to bring that to the cannabis industry. And
Yes.
As a grower,
Mhm.
how do you start your plants?
Well, I have 2 methods. Sometimes if I have a plant that I like, I will winter it over. I'll take a cutting from that and I'll clone that and I'll keep that in a special room I have. And then come spring, I will cut off of that again. If not, I have a reputable company that I deal with out of Amsterdam for feminized seed. And I know there's always seemed to have been a mystery around feminized seed. I've had many people ask me, oh, that's genetically altered, that's how that happens. And it's really not. It deals with hermaphrodite plants. and pollinating of branches and when that happens, when you end up with that hermaphrodite and you use that to pollinate, you end up with 99.9%, I believe, feminized seed. So, and that is great, because then you just pop them in, you're not dealing with the issues with cloning. I don't know, I've had years where I couldn't get lucky to save myself. Something just is going wrong in the process.
Do you know of anyone in the state producing clones from tissue culture? And
Not me.
is there an interest in that from the growers
There
to have
is.
a consistent clone?
There's a need. I had someone text me today asking if there's anyone I knew doing tissue culture. Few people I've heard of. No one that I know that's like formally established.
Actively doing it.
What's tissue culture?
Basically, it's a lab tech, and potentially
When you have a stable strain,
Yeah,
you're
they're-
taking that and
they can take a diseased plant or even like a plant that's gone past harvest or whatever, take the tissue sample and they can regenerate it into a healthy, disease-free plant of the same phenotype, same characteristics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's essentially asexual propagation, and you're starting your plants from just a few cells.
So
So you can be really consistent, you can get that genetic profile that you want.
it's one of the areas in the state where there's still room for. There's a lot of room in the industry for creative people, and like almost every, you can almost apply every job that people do to the marijuana business. You know what I mean?
trying farming, packaging,
Yeah.
retail. It's all encompassing, really.
And I think
What about cross-pollination from the Williams farm?
That's
Is that gonna be a problem?
it's been a big question.
Yeah.
it's one of those things. I think that everyone tries to shoot it down like it's not a problem. I think
is a problem.
I
probably
think
is a
we'll
problem.
see it happening more.
Like when I just said the feminized seed thing, like these guys are using a feminized product. Well, that's not a exact science. Something out there could get stressed in hermaphrodite. You also, even with my feminized seed, like I said, 99.9 or whatever. If you've got a field full of several thousand of these, well, do the math. Something out there is going to go male. I was actually just reading this morning about, and this was a study done in Europe, over open water you can move male pollen 30 miles with a sea breeze. On the land, they had averages of testing out between 3 and 7.5 miles. So,
But it's not in their best interest to keep the male clones either, they'll destroy their crop.
well, it's not the clones. They don't know until these start getting mature
Right.
in the
They
field.
have to call them out too, or they'll ruin their crop.
It's true, and the thing is, they're just planting with tractors, so it's like good luck
Right.
going back with human
With like
eyeballs and
600
getting
It's
every-
like it's literally like going back through a cornfield and looking for
Yeah.
corn smut.
Yeah. They don't have their hands on these plants every day.
Yeah.
It's not like what I do. I mean, I physically have contact every day. That's just too massive of a scale these guys are going.
There's a wide, like CBD is a valuable plant. It's been bred to take the THC down, but there's also been a lot of push to breed up the terpenes, which is the flavors and stuff. So, there's other uses for it for us. Like we're more interested in honestly like the flavors and the terpene value than we are the CBD cannabinoid content.
Yeah, when I drive by the Williams farm, I see the acres and acres of what's like hot plants for me.
Yeah.
What are they hoping to get? What are they hoping to produce?
Well, so that's like a startup company, CBD company. There's a lot of those companies across the country right now. They've been federally legal for the most part. So those type of operations take a lot of investment, and there's a lot of people that think they're going to be the next best thing. And truly, unless you have a biomass extraction plant, unless Madison Paper turns into an extraction plant, we're always going to be.
Can you explain that to me? So, the Williams farm would harvest all their plants and take them?
They're going to dry it in huge tumble dryers, and they'll sell biomass, and they'll extract biomass.
What does that mean?
Their end product will look like black tar oil, like crude oil.
It's called crude.
And it's called crude.
Who will be doing that for them, do you know?
Not sure.
Well,
What is it?
that
Biomass,
particular.
That sounds like putting wood chips in
Literally, they're taking combines to fields.
So you got
And-
biomass, then you have biomass extraction.
So they just chop it into a big mash and.
It gets rolled into round
Yep.
bales quite frequently.
Where are they doing the extraction for those?
So right now, there's one place in Waterville, mainly processing, that I know of, and they're a well-known family in that area. I want to say the Jabars.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's correct. Yeah. So but the truth is, no matter who you deal with in the business, everyone's learning, and in the end, I believe that it's going to be the typical USDA model where, build faster, buy more acres, and go out of business at the end.
These guys gave up their cows and everything.
Yeah.
They went-
Well.
Right now, the way the law's written for a state, you have probably a good couple years where you can do well with CBD.
Yeah.
Because they've limited it to only in-state. There's no cross-state lines with CBD.
And those
But-
guys are operating on grant money and stuff
Yeah.
like that too.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's easier when the people pay for everything for you. But
No.
we didn't have that privilege.
The fiber part isn't as profitable, but they say that that's going to start happening because of the, as the machinery becomes more available again, like it used to be.
It's the true value.
yeah,
in
the-
hemp is the
And
texture.
the other thing
balance.
is, you guys mentioned some of these guys are growing this stuff for seed. Is this just for oil, or are you guys able to get anything else out of
I
the seed?
think the seed is actually for propagation for next year.
Okay, so they're just growing the
Certified
seed crops.
They're
These are
trying
just
to get
lab.
everybody else that's buying into CBD.
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah.
The big market is to
Eventually, there will be.
biggest thing you
seed
can do is
extraction,
Yeah.
seed oil.
make 1,000 certified or 1,000,000 certified seed and sell them for $1 million. And everybody's just jumping on the points of interest where they can make money. CBD is a great
Wrong business.
cannabinoid,
Sounds like seed.
and
Spent
you
this
know,
whole time
but-
trying to keep seed.
Oh, yeah.
it's being used as a gateway drug. I feel like, not to go on a tangent, but it's being pushed on us so hard, like CBD, and it's cool, but we all know how that works. You know what I mean? There's a certain amount of reality there, and we joke around and call it the new gateway drug. And I shouldn't even say that in a public setting, but there's a few.
And
enough
rope
of us
medicine too is the other thing that.
I wasn't gonna say that one, but
I brought it
we
up,
do
I'm
call it
sorry.
rope medicine, but CBD has great benefits, and I actually don't really like to talk negatively, because some people, that's where they need to start, and then so
It definitely has
it
benefits.
has benefits. Yeah.
So who regulates the quality of that seed?
Gary Fish and the USDA, I believe, or the FSA.
Or, Farm Service? No,
It's the State Department.
no,
He's a
state.
he's a state.
Yeah, state.
How many people,
Say that again?
Like I'm honestly, I don't want to throw out information that's not correct on who regulates the hemp, but I believe it's state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks before your hemp's done, you're supposed to call them to have them come inspect it.
And then.
Right now, there's a lot of gray area with the crops this year because they are not
So
being
you say you're
inspected.
supposed to call them.
So does the
Yeah.
seed still fall under
They'll come out and
a
pull a
supplement
sample
law,
and test it.
where you
They
don't
have a
have to be
website that gives
Say
you-
that
tested
There's a website
for
Okay.
for the
potency
state,
or?
and
No,
Gary
it
Fish's
will have to be
information's on
tested.
there.
Yeah.
Unless it's
And
been
he
like
does all the
cosmetics and stuff
permitting
like
requirements
Okay,
and
yeah.
So
inspections
perfume is
and
different.
all that stuff.
So he is.
Well, we need to.
He's the one
The
man.
way-
He's the one man.
Just right up to it.
Show.
is it really one guy who's going around?
Somebody that would be hard for testing.
There's one name that I hear. I honestly,
Yeah.
I can't speak on much of the CBD end of things, but essentially right now in Maine, we got medical, we got recreational, we got CBD, and we got the equivalent of 3 government agencies monitoring essentially what's one plant. So in the big picture, yeah, that's a little ridiculous. But on the negative side of that, yeah, medical's designed to get integrated, which we all know what that means to the people that have been. Yeah, it's not all great, but we have had 10 years of, people having a chance to start their business and try to operate. So it's kind of.
So this might be an entirely different topic altogether, but you guys are talking about hemp, and you guys are talking about this CBD part of it. But what about the actual plant fibers and the biodegradable plastics and stuff like that?
That's
is this a legitimate future that we can push?
absolutely.
It's gonna be harder for our state to succeed in that, just with the amount of acres. You're looking at, 1,000-acre
But
plannings in other
nationally
states.
and
The rate of growth
ultimately
on the plan.
worldwide,
Yeah.
it's something that can happen.
Absolutely. It used to happen, and I think it's gonna happen again.
And after the extraction, this stuff is still usable for that product.
Yes.
Yeah, the fibers are still there. I mean, there's something left to the plant.
We'll see a lot more changes on the plastic side of things with hemp being incorporated in that. I think Lego is talking about 8 years out, all their Legos are gonna be made out of.
And
Yeah,
one thing on the CBD, and, everyone's happy because we voted in Maine to, like, if you're gonna have a product that contains CBD in Maine, you have to purchase that CBD from Maine. And that sounds really great from the small picture, but from the big picture, other states are gonna follow that same model, and then we're all trapped in our main market. So then how many successful hemp farms are you gonna have if we can't cross state lines that's the whole purpose.
Ultimately, the federal government's going to have.
Yeah, ultimately,
Yeah.
it's good on a small scale and like, from like that angle, but like when you look at it, it's the other states, like, and same with like marijuana legalization and lawmaking, rulemaking, regulating. No one's trying to really lead it. They're just all like, what are they doing over there? Oh, they did that? You think we should do that? Let's do, literally, and then they get all fancy and have committees, and that's all they're doing. It's just still looking over to see
How'd this work out for the state?
how it works out.
And one thing we could hope for is, like you've been saying, the business model. These guys grow, and then fail. Well, that in itself creates an opportunity. Now you have a lot of money that's tied up in people growing this hemp for CBD. Maybe that'll roll it into, they need to diversify. Maybe once it's out there, that'll spark it. So that we're doing this
You
for
could probably
others.
replace all the wood pellets that were
Yeah, I mean,
doing stuff like that.
sure.
You can probably profit on an acre of CBD this year, and next year it'll take about 10, for the same profit.
Right.
Just, I don't know, and I really shouldn't be spouting off numbers, but I mean, that's like my feeling. I'm pretty tied into the market and the reality of it.
I won't even mention how the profits are going down.
Yeah.
What's your future projection as the two of you guys?
So our business plan, right now we're trying to help. We're just getting established in Maine. We're learning. We've got all the growing pains of a normal company. We're just getting our first computers. We're right when we're really fluent with paper trails and cross-check methods. Now we're going to get our first computers. And
I've
just
never
'cause-
lived without a computer, so it kills me.
Yeah. You're talking, like Jake and I are both farmers. We, between us and our wives, we grow all our own food, produced on our own farms. So, we're not just, we didn't come from big revenue backgrounds and stuff. So that's why I say we're just like all in, everything, and it's always a risk. And I think we're finally getting ahead of, the bigger part of the risk. But, it's been, Jake quit a really good job, or got done a really good job to come do this.
So what is your,
So we're
What's your
trying to help
business?
build our local market.
Okay.
Trying to help build our brand, or trying to help build other people's brands. As part of building our good relationships, we're seeking out the best in the business. Across the state, we're keeping eyes on the stores, who's operating professionally, who wants receipts, who's paying checks, who's
Quality, organic growers are also
Organic
big for
growers.
us. So.
yeah.
Actually, I was going to ask you about that earlier when you were saying you're as certified as you can get. Are you MOFGA certified?
The land we both grow on is actually, so,
Yeah.
so we put our
But
name on it.
not our laboratory.
Yeah, and I don't think you can actually MOFGA certify cannabis right now
You
anyway.
can't say
Yeah, we can't say.
federally with marijuana.
Yes.
So I hear issues with marijuana growers and,
I have no
reaching
issues with
benefits
that.
financially, but then having a hard time getting money in the bank. Is that-
There's only limited banks. In my experience over the years as a carrier, I've been let go from 3 banks. If you looked at the numbers, you would be like, oh, clearly these guys are, selling illegal drugs or something. It was always just enough for payroll and to operate, because that's how much money we were making. But that is one of the bigger problems with the growers is the fact that they have their caregiving license, but they don't actually pay taxes. They don't have resale certificates. And now if they don't have resale certificates and we process for them, then, you know, well, we gotta have their caregiver information, but, you know, you just have to do proper business to move forward. Marijuana, we went from the black market, which we all know about, to the gray market where they force us to operate. You know, we think we're legal, but technically you can't write off anything, you can't claim anything. And this year is the first year that you can write off expenses, you can claim expenses. So this is the first year that we've been able to like operate a business technically. Like this is the first year we can actually see what we're actually doing for numbers. On top of that, they want you to have special insurances, they want you to pay special taxes, licensure fees. There's not as much money as people think when people do it right.
It operates like a real business.
It operates like a real business. Plus a tax business.
Taxes, you pay federal income tax?
I paid for 10 years now for marijuana. I used to have to check the box that said I was selling illicit drugs.
Marijuana sales and.
Yep. Yeah.
The federal government takes some money out of it.
Yeah. Every, you know, and
Some irony there.
but what you're going to start seeing now that they're allowing people to write off and stuff is you're going to see audits and all that stuff like you do in normal businesses. Before they're like, should we audit them? And you're like, well, we don't really allow them to operate properly, so it's kind of like double whammying them. And then, but it's turning into real business. It's a lot less fun, but. Yeah.
As far as banking, Seaport Credit Union will service pretty much everything in Androscoggin County South. And there's nobody for Somerset County right now that will handle stuff.
Yeah, there's a couple banks that turn their eye, but
Skowhegan Savings will probably be the first one on board.
I've been dropped from banks where my friends were managing the bank, and it was from above them. You know, it's nothing personal. It's just like every time a memo came out on a federal level, they would like review and you know. And I guarantee when I drop my money off at the bank, it smells bad. I come back. I thought my money bag was all wet. And I was like, you know, it's like my receipt's all wet, and I realized they had sprayed perfume in there to try to help me out a little bit, but. There's nothing you can do. I mean, we're touching it all day long. And when I go to the airport, it's like full on, you know, a full scene. You know, I get called after I already make it through, or they call me back out. Then they're like, we all stand around my bag, and they're just like, there's an extreme smell. It's extreme. And, you know, their store's just filled with marijuana, but like, honestly, like, I washed all my clothes. We left the bag outside where it wasn't even, you know, and then it's still just like, you just can't escape it, you know. But you know, and you have to wear it like a badge, you know. When people tell you smell good, you just take it as a compliment. You know, like that's kind of weird. I've had someone say it. You know, I was in a urinal in a men's bathroom. The guy was like, "You smell good," and I was like, "Well, that's kind of weird to say to someone." You know, but I knew what he was talking about, so I didn't get offended. You know, so.
Is there a difference between the medicinal benefits of CBD and THC?
Totally, yeah, and you know the big thing is the psychoactive. You know, that's what the thing connected to THC, the psychoactive, and it's a hallucinogenic and stuff. And you know, and for certain people, they're not meant to come in contact with THC because at no level can they handle it. But for the average person, it's a really good medicine. There's not a lot of sensitivities. It doesn't interact adversely with other medications, rarely ever.
No withdrawal symptoms.
No withdrawal symptoms. It's mentally addictive, but not physically. So you're not gonna ever deal with like the stuff that people are really addicted to. But you can see some cranky people after a couple of days of no pod on a fishing trip, when they're used to just having smoke. And you know, if you're used to doing it, you're by the fire. It's late at night. You know, there's a certain level of mental addiction, and there's always the people who are gonna make it look bad no matter what. You know.
What about the CBD?
Now the CBD is more like of course, you can go into a store without a medical card right now and buy CBD because it's legal for everybody, and so is marijuana, but you just can't purchase it yet because we haven't got a license. We haven't had an application for license yet. That's supposed to happen in October, and everything's supposed to come to fruition in first of the year, January. So you're gonna see, not to jump around, but towns have a lot of power in approving or denying whether this type of business operates in their town. The town has to opt in. They can't stay neutral. If the town does not opt in, you cannot apply for state licensure.
Well, just to add to that about the towns, even the town of Solon has put its own ordinance through its planning board that has limited the amount of marijuana plants to 3 per person over the age of 21 for in the town limits. And it's enforced by, now I don't know if it's going to be the code enforcement officer, or I can't see Kenny Hogate out there yarding people's plants up or something, but it does say enforced as other ordinances are enforced. So, and that's the thing, what's brought them to do that, to already lay down another ordinance over what the state's already said we could have. You know, so you're gonna see a lot of different stuff when they say whether you can go sell recreational or not.
Yeah.
They might put an ordinance here that stops the people who are already established and waiting.
Yeah.
Back to the gentleman in the back, I feel like we kind of
Yes,
got sidetracked on your
CBD.
question. Are you basically asking if THC and CBD work better as a medicine or CBD alone?
For instance, would one be better than the other for treating a specific condition like neuropathy or whatever?
Sometimes a combination of both is the right
Yeah.
thing, but like he said earlier,
It's individual beyond.
you'd want to just try and see what works for you. You know,
Yeah.
or
You
whatever.
start at the CBD, you go to the light THC levels, and then you go from there. Sometimes people are super sensitive to it, and sometimes other people have to take more than an average person. And it's not about like being high or anything like that. It's about like obtaining a certain level of relief, and those levels might be different. So
Are the plants different?
the plants are definitely different. Yeah, the amount of oils when you touch the plants, they have a different feel. They have a different look,
Different smells, everything. Yeah.
different smells. They've
regular-
both been bred. They've both been like bred and bred and bred, like more than any other type of plant in recent history. There's a lot of people, a lot of research going in, even like on a local level. Like he's learning every year what plants are viable outdoors and which ones totally were a waste of his time and caused trouble with that. Like every year, and back on your question, like you just have to trial and error, 25 years of trial and error. You start to
Ideally
know
buy
things.
clones from somebody that's tested
Yeah.
that strain outside the prior year.
If it's your friend you're taking advice from and he's been growing for a year, you might want to talk to Chip.
Yeah. And also, if you're wondering, about the fact that they're like always developing new, if you've ever looked at a plant catalog for marijuana and seen the vast list of names, it can be very daunting to go, what do I do, And the names are a little ridiculous. Some of them are kind of explicit. But it's changing. Every single year, there's something new.
A lot of it's going to come down to actual tests that show the cannabinoid content of that strain and the terpene content, the flavors, all right there on paper and able to analyze.
Are you primarily an outdoor grower then?
I've done both. Right now, I am concentrating on outdoor. To be at the scale that I am, it just costs entirely too much to run the power. The market isn't holding in the beginning. The market was holding. I could easily not worry about the light bill. It had value. And now that, in the last, I want to say 6-7 years, the cost ratio, it just isn't working for my scale. So I'm back outside.
Indoor, yeah.
And that also brings another issue, is that what we're allowed to have, what we're allowed to hold and keep, and what patients are allowed to have. I mean, the laws really, if you look at it the big picture is very unfunctional in a lot of ways. You know, it kind of forces you to be a partial criminal. You know, and back in the day, I wore that like a badge. I mean, that was what we did, you know, back in the guerrilla growing days, you know, and never thought anything of it. But now it's kind of nice that you're not worried about losing your house or ending up in the pokey. So, but it still leaves us with a lot of loose ends, you know, especially for someone like me. You know, if I want to do it the right way, I've got to lose my shirt and run it through the winter and only keep this much.
And price gouging from everyone that does business with us.
Oh gosh,
You
yeah.
know, so
Mm-hmm.
so that's what we deal with. I mean, people see us, we got a dollar symbol on our forehead, even though we're usually poor, you know, minus certain people.
Sure.
But, you know, there's a lot to it, you know, getting from point A to point B. You're always growing your business. You're always trying to get to the next level. And like, for some people, that's just never going to be enough, you know, and it's really tough. But at the same time, if you're doing good things and you're not paying attention to what other people are doing that you're not doing, you know, then you just keep doing good things, stay in your lane. They say a lot in the industry, and just like keep doing good things, and you know, you're at least going to get hired for your experience if you're not running a business where you're the boss. And you know, accountants are getting jobs out of this, builders are getting jobs. This is like, I mean, it's the biggest up and coming market nationwide for quite a long time. The feds are investigating all states as they release licensure, because there's the most potential for corruption in any type of licensure in a long period of time. This is serious business, serious levels of corruption also, you know, and it's been so unregulated. It's just like, I like you, he gets the license, we don't like him, he don't get the license, and we all know that's not fair, that's not how it works, but it does work like that.
And it's hard to shake that stigma of, you know, it's been everybody, it seems to be like it's all right to screw each other over when it came to this kind of business for so long. Mm-hmm. You know, back in the day, everybody was kind of cutthroat for everyone. So that, you know, air about it is very hard to get rid of. You know, it's really hard to know who you're working with, who you can trust, and there's still guys out there running around, running through people's yards and running off with their medicinal marijuana. So
I had a plant
A lot more I
stolen
thought was
last year.
happening, you know.
I was
Yeah.
on it.
Everybody
It's like
can grow it,
people
right?
still steal.
yeah, why are you still? I mean,
Even when they
you
can
can do
grow
it
their
yourself.
own.
I was wondering about that, about, do you think that, about like being it, like the plant thieves and stuff, will they, I guess I don't know, really know.
It's
what
really
happened
hard
or
because
what.
when, like, the smart thieves don't steal the plants, they steal, everyone looks cool here, they steal the finished product.
Right.
Because they're really lazy typically, and they don't want to have to trim it, and it takes 16 hours to trim a pound of pot sometimes. So,
What about people, do you think that people aren't gonna be able to tell the difference in like, I thought of both police and thieves of like CBD, like you see these fields of plants and it's hard to tell the difference from a
yeah.
distance.
The CBD, you should always go harvest someone's CBD. No, I'm just kidding. No, but there's so much of it. There's always going to be someone going in and grabbing some plants, just like apples. There's people stealing apples.
Sure.
You know, I get people like cut my like little red berries off that they put on. It's like get there to make my own wreaths, and I'm like, you know. So people take everything. You just literally, it's about like who you do business with. You know, you're trying to like not hire everyone in your family, but you want to hire the best people from your family. You know, so
I met my family.
yeah, you know, like for me, like I was able to start caregiving, and my demand was so high that I was able to turn my dad into a caregiver. And he wasn't really a smoker, but he was an amazing caregiver.
What creates that whole economy of you can do this, somebody's going to be the farmer, someone's going to extract it, someone's going to do the packaging and marketing of it and all that stuff.
And someone's doing it all.
Yeah.
In Maine, we don't think that's cool, but in other states it flies. So
Yeah.
in Maine, we really have a good thing going here because we support each other. And we are 1.3 million people with 34 million visitors in a few months. So seasonal business is something to think about. All the store owners that have one location now that are kind of a little discouraged because someone has a better location than they do. It's like, well, you know, you're already operating professionally a business, and that puts you a lot closer to operating two than most people are operating one successfully. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of businesses that are going to be falling off over the next few years, and some of those businesses are going to be good businesses that just couldn't quite make it because of location or competition. But some of them are going to be, you know, places, people that had no place in the industry anyways. Hopefully we can retain most of our own business in our local state. People are loyal, you know, there's still people that haven't signed up for medical that still go to the same pot dealer they've been going to since '72, and you know, it's most places aren't
That's
like
the buy local movement.
exactly. It's $2
Yes.
cheaper. I'm going to see Chet. You know, that's like
Right.
that's the current.
Right.
So, but it's a good market. The plants though, from 20 feet away, they look the same. You know, the CBD and the THC, but you know, close up they do have a difference. And so the benefits are, there's positive benefits from both. CBD really helps with inflammation, so people with arthritis, and it really hits inflammation. There's no doubt about it. You know, so THC, the appetite stimulant, THCV, appetite suppressant.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So the cannabinoids, we are getting there. We are starting to learn, not us specifically, but the community and Israel is a huge leader in marijuana science.
Yeah, government's funded studies there all along.
We should have been.
Yeah, believe it or not, that's the leader of research right now. But you know, back in the day, it was just me and Chip getting out of high school, growing dope, continuing on. Now people are getting out of MIT, and about 20% of them are focusing on what Chip and I's market. So, you know, luckily we're in a good time because there's going to be people trying to get into this market 20 years from now, and we paid our time. We held tight. We dodged the helicopters, all the stuff that was kind of fun, but also not fun.
Right.
And you know, so hopefully we'll be relevant 20 years from now. We'll be hiring those people.
Are you guys gonna diversify? Meaning, will you be set up, do you have the capacity to process other, like essential oils or herbals and medicinals?
We've thought about that. It's a matter of our schedule, and right now things have been really picking up, so it's gonna be hard to fit like some R&D projects like that. And as we get more equipment and we kind of, you know, upgrade stuff, there'll be a piece of equipment that could be specifically used just for that, because there are like natural, you know, flavors that we'd like to extract and have for ourselves too. So.
It's an amazing plant. I mean, just like tulips and all this other stuff, you know, that's why people spend their whole life dedicated to the plant. So.
And you'll never stop figuring it out. You'll never say someday, oh, I've got this plant figured, because every year I run into challenges.
If you know what it means, you just started.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's so true. So,
Chip, what size operation do you have?
what's that?
What size do you operation have?
Well, this is a hard one, and it's not actually a hard one.
Three plants. Yeah,
I deal with 30 plants. Okay. Without getting into the particulars, because, well, you can't. But, and that still, then come this time of year for the next 6 weeks will be my more than 40-hour-a-week job just doing my harvest.
6 weeks, I gotta come watch you.
Because, you know, I do it, well, myself, my wife, and, you know, we just handle this on our own. And then that goes out to the people it has to go out to. And like, that's where that gray area is, because now people have to sit on more than they're supposed to with the way that I deal with this, but they're kind of forced to. But if, like I think I've heard you say here, if you continue to do things right, you don't seem to end up in that vein where you're under that spotlight. So, and that, it translates to a lot of work. So,
So you're limited on the number of plants that you can have
What's
with your license, you're limited on the number of plants that you can have?
with the number of clients you have,
Oh, plants.
or
Okay.
patients, whatever, however somebody wants to,
So you can't keep your finished product down storage or anything?
You can store a certain amount.
Oh, okay.
As a caregiver, you can store some. But you can have so much on hand, I should say. But mostly, you're still, with 30 plants, I can tell you I'm well beyond the storing amount, so, with what I grow, so.
That's where we come in,
Hmm,
because we make it so that storage shed's not so full.
Get
right,
down to about that big.
right, right.
So then you charge Chip to create your product?
Yeah, yeah.
Or does he sell it to
Well,
you?
we charge Chip to process his product. Yeah.
And then
his
leave him
product-
enough meat on the bone to basically 6 times, so
Right.
3 times for you,
Right.
3 times for
Say that again.
retail. And then basically we're trying to figure out a whole pricing structure, and it's just to leave enough. So 3 times markup for him, 3 times markup for the retail. Just trying to keep up with typical retail.
Do you then also buy product from individuals to then process for them to?
If we buy it, we'll typically put our name on it because we bought it for a reason. That
Yes,
it's good
right,
product.
right. Do you
But-
have
but-
suppliers who they grow for you and then you?
We grow for ourselves right now, and then we have a couple collaborative growers that are basically, they're like on trial with us. We already know they're super talented, but then you still gotta work together successfully.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and you might hear people being like, "Oh, I got a license for 20,000 square feet." It's like, no, there's no license for that right now. You might have got approved for the town, and you want a 20,000 square foot license from the state, but no one has any licensure yet besides what Chip and I have, which is medical caregiver, which allows you the 30 plants and then your own 6 plants. So 36 capping point. If you're a husband and wife caregiving team, that's 72 plants. And that's more than adequate. I served over 100 patients with 72 plants,
So the people that you then buy the product from, they can only grow 6 plants themselves?
depending on their status as caregiver. So if they had 2 patients, they could grow 12 plants. And then
But I'm saying
3,
if they don't have, so they need to be then a caregiver to sell to you. To
yeah.
then
We
resell back.
can't even technically take in people's recreational plants. Like you can grow 3 plants this year. Next year you would be able to bring your 3 plants to us. And we could process them. This year we can't do that. It's still connected through medical. Yeah, until they roll out the red carpet, that's when the laws will change. January, 21-year-old adults will be able to walk into these caregiver shops that then become licensed to be recreational. Yeah, if they're not licensed to be recreational, you'll still be required to have a medical card to do business with them. There's going to be, Maine's got the best chance of having a continuing success with their medical market because we are a small state and people require a high level of care, honestly. I'm sure with your patients, it's not like a meet in the parking lot, hand in the bag.
No.
It's, you're talking about symptoms they're dealing with, you're talking about how the last batch worked or didn't work, or personally I deal with I've kids as young as 2 years old and people as old as 98 that are just trying their first THC or CBD. So by the time you're dealing with those people, you're dealing with a lot more sensitive, dosing. Now, you don't keep people's cards anymore unless they are under 18, then you are still required to hold their card. But doing what I do and being like that person giving medicine to a 97-year-old person, the reason they're at me is because their doctor they're allergic to every other thing and they need certain relief. So by the time they've hit me, if I mess up on dosing, then that was their last chance of finding relief. So it can be really, caregivers can be just as important to people as their doctors, and
So
trying to get away from
How
that.
do you price it back then as a caregiver? How do you price
So
it back?
basically, it's on like, so if we extracted 25 grams for him, we would charge him, let's say $5 a gram back, and he could either wholesale that gram out for $15 or $20, or he could take that gram and turn it into, I guess some people turn it into 20 bottles of medicine, but if you're actually making medicine, you're just turning it into like a couple bottles, you know what I mean? But either way, it's always adding value.
Right.
Every time
You've
you
got to
break
be
it down.
competitive with the other caregivers
Yeah.
down the street.
1 gram of distillate, which is isolated THC, which we make, 1 gram is around 1,000 milliliters, and the average dose is 10 milliliters, or milligrams. Sorry, I'm getting on the metric here. The lab life's been different, but so there's 1,000 milligrams. Let me start fresh. In like 1 pure gram of THC distillate, which is a product that we make for people. That 1 gram can be 110 milligram doses. Yeah.
But I'm talking about a smokable product.
Okay.
Okay. So you've got to be competitive with everybody else who's a caregiver, correct?
Correct.
Is there some standard base price? Back in high school, I was buying an ounce for 40 bucks.
They call it an ounce, or they call it.
Yeah.
They did. It's the lid and the 2 fingers and the 4 fingers.
Anymore.
Yeah.
Or is it done that way?
It is done that way. So, caregiver to caregiver, I would be likely to buy a pound or off a chip, and that's 16 ounces. And to my customers, and I would be, not to talk price, but I would pay Chip a couple $1,000, and I would try to,
Triple
make
that.
it. No. You're just trying to like.
On the
add
raw
a
flour,
third. You're trying to add a third. So I paid him $2,000. I'm trying to sell those 16 for $1,000 profit. So
Yeah, okay.
it's just honest business, and then taxes.
Right. But it must be, I'm thinking it's competitive.
It's competitive.
Yeah,
So,
I
but
didn't know if there was-
It's
But
not
the
just
levels of
the,
quality, the consumer are very educated. This is like the people that skipped the Budweiser and went straight to the craft beer, and they're still like a full scale of patients, but typically the marijuana consumer, whether it be recreational, medical, they're like well educated about the products that they're getting.
well, they know. And the other thing is what I run into is that they know what it's going for from the quote unquote black market.
I learned prices.
So they know how, hey, Joey down on the corner is selling a nice ounce of this beautiful looking stuff for $100. Why do you need X amount more? So the market is kind of touched by everything. There is still an element out there that it hasn't gone away. It's there, and it's thriving in some forms. They're not making what they used to. I can guarantee you that. But it still reflects what you can charge for medicinal marijuana to someone. Before they start saying, "Oh man."
You can see, like right currently, you can see a visible loss of traction for the gray and the black market. Because right now, there's 1 pier and there's 2 ships, and it's been a long time coming. But right now, you're either getting on this ship or you're staying on this ship. So it's coming to the point where you got to make a choice. You're gonna just teeter out. You had a good time. You made hundreds of thousands and never paid a cent of taxes, or you're gonna do it honest and like run a respectable business. Yeah, make it fair.
Right.
Well, there's gotta be a certain value that you guys have to your product above and beyond the black market, because you are caregivers.
Yeah.
They can
people
trust what they
coming
get.
to you and having a dialogue about why they're there. You're not gonna get that from Joe on the corner. He's gonna throw you a bag of weed and be done
But
with
there's
it.
some people that only care about the price.
Right. Yeah. And that is part of the value added when you have a relationship with someone. And that's where, when you build that trust, and sometimes that does relate to a better profit. You know, but it's also a lot more work than, you know, you care more about what you're doing now than back in the day. You know, it was just a fast and furious way of doing it.
There's clear distinguishing levels of quality, and it's really easy to see if you're like an educated consumer. You know, for entry level people, they're not seeing the varying quality, but like for Jake and Chip and I, and probably a lot of you guys, like the first chemical reaction you're gonna have with marijuana is when you smell it, and you're either gonna be like, geez, that smells good, or like, geez, I don't really, that's weird, you know? So you're either gonna like it or you're not, and honestly, if that marijuana smells good to you and it's more desirable than this one, you're probably gonna have better results with this one that smells good to you. So it starts off really simple like that, and then you keep going from there, and their caregiver relationship becomes quite complex, you know? I deal with in mental health, and I always have, so like I knew how important it was for some of those people to have access, so you decide you're going to work with people with mental health, and so you're always going to have people that no matter how much you do for them and how little you charge them, they're always going to be disgruntled with you. So, but you can't let it affect your personal life because you're dealing with people with mental health issues. So, and you're dealing with people that are dying, and you can't, people like to come to me because I'm not going to sit there and give them like every sympathy card that everyone else they come in contact with. I'm going to give that sucks. It definitely doesn't discriminate. You're not alone, and what can we get you for medicine to help cover symptoms? It's like you don't dive into every case of misfortune that you're coming across, because for me I would be a mess, and I'm sure Chip would be a mess, and it's there's a lot. I mean, the caregiver thing in its true form is like a very special thing. So there's gonna be a loss of that connection as the market progresses. There's not gonna be a lot of Chips left. There's not gonna be a lot of Chads left.
Even when it goes direct, hopefully things start to move as actual doctors start to use this medicine,
A lot of them are just scared to death to touch it. Clinics that are federally funded, they just won't do it. And they shouldn't be.
Yeah, none of the doctors touch it except for the ones that, are giving you your most serious prognosis, and they're telling you definitely touch it. So, so it's, any other questions about this
We're losing
wonderful
people.
plan?
See, we're
I'm not sure if there's a time limit tonight, but we could go on forever, I'm sure.
Narrow down to samples. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. He's like running up to the
He's like,
front.
what?
I like that.
Sample?
No, I appreciate you guys coming. We didn't really prepare anything. We just love talking about
What we do.
marijuana and extraction. I don't think Chip prepared anything. It's just we're here. We're
just
passionate
here.
about the plant. We're not going anywhere. And we're the type of people that are making the plant look better. There's definitely the people that are making it look worse. And in the media, we'll always take the picture of the biggest idiot in the crowd. It's like the marijuana legalization party, and the guy's got a 9-foot joint, and then even we cringe at that stuff. You know what I mean? So if you're cringing, we're cringing with you. It's an amazing plant, and I'm just going to finish by saying our whole business mantra, our whole slogan is thank the plant, because we're lucky to be transferring the plant, and that's the plant's what does all the hard work. So we're kind of thankful for that. Yeah, that's where it all ends. It starts.